Sagittarius. The truth about your family you didn't want to hear, but need to. Sagittarius, you've always been the one to look outward, toward new horizons, higher truths and possibilities yet to be discovered. But this week the universe turns your gaze inward, toward the one place even your bold spirit hesitates to explore. Your family. Perhaps there's been a subtle discomfort lately, a dream you can't shake, a photo that stirs something tender and unresolved. You might not know why, but you feel it, something in your lineage is calling. A truth you haven't wanted to face, but can no longer ignore. The message I bring today isn't easy, but you didn't come here for ease. You came for evolution, and that means hearing what others avoid, feeling what others repress, and healing what others pass down. Sagittarius, your soul chose this family for a reason, not by mistake, not as a punishment, but because your heart carries the kind of light that can break generational patterns, the kind that doesn't run from pain but transforms it. This message may stir you, it may even hurt, but stay with me. If your spirit led you here, it's because you're ready, not just to understand your family in a new way, but to begin the most courageous journey of all, healing it. If this resonates, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe. Not for me, but for you. Because the story you inherited is not where it ends. It's where you begin. Date 1. The role you didn't ask for, but were born to fulfill. Sagittarius, your journey has never been ordinary. You are the sign of truth, of expansion, of deep spiritual calling. But before you could ride the winds of freedom, you were placed in the roots of something ancient, your family. A soul contract inked not in ink but in energy. The truth is, you were not placed in your family by chance. You were assigned, not to continue the cycles that came before you, but to transform them. And that is not an easy task. You may have felt even as a child that you didn't quite fit, that your way of thinking, of questioning, of feeling set you apart. Perhaps you were the one who asked uncomfortable questions at the dinner table, or the one who couldn't just accept the family truths everyone else agreed upon. You weren't rebellious for the sake of being difficult. You were awake. You still are. But the weight of this awakening is real. Sagittarius, there are energies in your lineage that have been waiting generations for someone brave enough to look at them without flinching. Patterns of emotional suppression, cycles of abandonment, expectations passed down like heirlooms, masked as tradition but built on fear. And here you are, the wild one, the truth teller, the wanderer, the healer. Let me share the story of Rena, a 45-year-old Sagittarius woman I once worked with. She grew up in a family where emotional silence was the rule. Her father never said, "I love you." Her mother lived behind a smile that hid decades of disappointment. And yet Rena, without knowing why, began journaling her feelings at age 7. She traveled far from home, studied psychology, and ended up writing a book about intergenerational trauma. Her family still doesn't fully understand her, but her niece, who read that book at 19, broke a cycle of silence in her own way. Rena never tried to fix her family. She simply chose a different path, and in doing so, she became the quiet lighthouse her lineage never had. Sagittarius, you are that lighthouse. You don't have to confront everyone. You don't have to prove your truth. But your very being, your choices, your light, your willingness to heal, creates a ripple that touches past, present, and future. Astrologically, this is no accident. The current movement of Saturn, the karmic teacher, is shining a light directly on your house of ancestry and emotional foundation. This happens rarely, maybe once in 29 years, and when it does, it's not just about mending relationships. It's about acknowledging the energetic blueprint you inherited, and consciously choosing what continues and what ends. Have you noticed patterns repeating in your family? Maybe your mother's sacrifice now echoes in your own choices. Maybe your grandfather's temper lives silently in your reactions. Maybe you fear becoming like them, or not being accepted by them. Sagittarius, the deepest healing begins when you stop resisting these patterns and start observing them with love. Not to blame, not to shame, but to understand. Because here's the truth few speak about. The wound you carry may not have started with you, but the healing, the sacred ending of that pain, can start with you. You may be the first in your family to go to therapy, to choose peace over performance, to say no to a toxic pattern, even if it means being misunderstood, to love differently, to feel differently, to break free. That is not rebellion. That is soul leadership. And yet, this role may feel isolating. You might wonder, why me? Why do I have to be the one who feels so much, sees so much, wants so much more? Because you are the one with the vision to see beyond the pain. To not just carry it, but transmute it. That uncle who never spoke of his grief? You might be the first to cry for him. That sibling who repeats the family drama? You might be the first to forgive without engaging. That parent who couldn't love you in the way you needed? You might be the first to understand they gave what they could from a half-filled cup. And in that understanding, Sagittarius, you begin to rewrite the script. This is not about fixing your family. It's about standing firmly in who you are. So the next generation doesn't have to carry what you no longer choose to hold. You are the break. You are the bridge. You are the bomb. And this week, if you feel that tug, to revisit an old conversation, to reach out to a relative, to finally speak what has long been held in, trust it. That's your soul answering a calling it accepted long before you were born. You may be the only one in your family who feels this mission clearly. But know this. Just by honoring the truth of your experience, you are healing more than you know. You are the one they've been waiting for. Gate 2, misunderstood. The silent pain of not fitting in. Sagittarius, few people understand the quiet ache of being the different one in the family. The one who feels too much, dreams too big, questions what was never questioned. And fewer still know the loneliness that comes when your truth feels too wild, too inconvenient, or too confronting for the people who raised you. You may have been labeled rebellious, dramatic, disloyal, or perhaps worse, invisible. They didn't see the truth-seeking fire in your heart. They only saw a flame they couldn't control. This is the pain most Sagittarians don't speak about. Not because it's not real, but because you've learned to rise above it. To laugh instead of cry. To leave instead of explain. To travel instead of ask to be understood. But beneath the freedom lies a wound. The wound of being misread. Of playing a role that was never yours. The role of the strong one, the problem one, or the one who's too much. Let me share the story of Miguel, a 39-year-old Sagittarius who was always the black sheep in his conservative family. While his siblings followed tradition, Miguel pursued philosophy, lived abroad, and spoke openly about things his family called nonsense. Every holiday felt like a performance. Every compliment came with a condition. Until one day, he simply stopped pretending. He told me, "When I stopped trying to be seen, I started seeing myself." And the grief that followed wasn't about losing them. It was about realizing I'd never truly had them the way I needed. And somehow that freed me. Sagittarius, you are not here to fulfill their projections. You are here to fulfill your purpose. And yes, that may mean being misunderstood. But it also means being authentic. This week, old family roles may resurface. You may be drawn into a conversation where your old identity is expected, the peacemaker, the rebel, the outsider. Pause before you react. Ask yourself, is this who I am, or who they've always expected me to be? Because here's the truth. Roles are often created to protect the family system. They simplify complex dynamics, but they also confine. And your spirit, Sagittarius, was never meant to be confined. If you've been feeling a pull to redefine your place in the family, to step out of that role you've long outgrown, this is your sign. Not to fight, but to release. Release the need to be understood. Release the hope that they'll finally get you. Release the exhausting dance of shrinking to make others comfortable. Because once you do, something extraordinary happens. You return to yourself. And when you return to yourself, you stop asking for permission to exist in your truth. You start creating boundaries that are sacred, not defensive. You begin to say no, not with anger, but with clarity. And yes, not out of guilt, but from genuine desire. Sagittarius, the pain of not being understood by your family is real. But the liberation that comes from understanding yourself is greater. This doesn't mean you must walk away from your family forever. It means you walk toward your own truth, even if it means walking a different path. Some will follow. Some will resist. Some will never see. And that is not a reflection of your worth, only of their capacity. You are not here to carry their discomfort. You are here to carry your light. This week, take time to reflect on the identity your family gave you, and the one you are claiming now. Write it down. Speak it aloud. Witness the shift. Because when you release the performance, you give others the chance to meet the real you. And more importantly, you give yourself that chance too. You've spent years trying to fit into a story that wasn't yours. Now it's time to write your own chapter. Not in opposition, but in sovereignty. Sagittarius, your truth is not a threat. It's a guide. And if your family cannot see the beauty of who you are becoming, let your reflection be enough. The most sacred act of healing this week may not be a conversation or a confrontation, but a quiet declaration. I no longer need to be who I was in order to be loved. I am who I am, and that is enough. Gate 3, healing the bloodline. The sacred love only you can offer. Sagittarius, you may not realize it yet, but you are the prayer someone in your family once whispered in silence. A dream they never dared to pursue. A strength they didn't know how to live out loud. You are not just a link in the chain, you are the shift in the pattern. And this week, the stars are reminding you of a truth your soul has always known. Healing doesn't always come through logic. Sometimes it comes through love. A love that transcends generations. A love that sees beyond who hurt who and into why. You see, every family has stories. Some are proudly told. Others are buried beneath shame, fear, or silence. But within every untold story lies an invitation. Not to carry the burden, but to bless it, to see it, name it, and offer it light. This is where you come in, Sagittarius. Not because you owe anyone anything, but because you are the only one in your lineage who has the consciousness to choose differently. Let me tell you about Laurel, a 52-year-old Sagittarius who came to me in tears after finding her grandmother's journal. It was filled with dreams that never came true. Travel plans, poetry, spiritual longings. She sounded like me, Laurel whispered. And yet she lived so small. In that moment, Laurel realized her freedom wasn't just hers. It was her grandmother's healing, finally set in motion. Sagittarius, your expansion is not selfish. It's sacred. Every time you choose self-respect over people-pleasing, every time you speak what others repressed, every time you forgive from wisdom, not weakness, you are not just healing yourself. You are healing them. All of them. Those who came before, those who walked beside you, and those who are yet to be born. Because healing doesn't move in a straight line. It ripples. And your heart, your open, brave, truth-seeking heart, is the epicenter of that ripple. You may be asking, how do I offer love to a family that hasn't always loved me well? You begin with compassionate distance. You stop trying to change them, and start changing your response to them. You honor their story, while no longer letting it define your own. And when you feel ready, you send a quiet prayer back through time. May every unspoken word now be heard. May every unlived dream find new life through me. May every wound now find rest. This isn't about reconciliation with those who have harmed you. It's about reconciliation with the truth that love in its highest form sets everyone free. And Sagittarius, your love has always had wings. Now is the time to let it fly where it's never flown. Into the broken spaces of your family story, not to fix them, but to bless them. You may feel guided this week to do something symbolic. Light a candle for an ancestor. Create a new family tradition. Break bread with someone who once triggered you, but now simply mirrors your own humanity. Or maybe you simply choose to forgive silently so your energy is no longer tied to what they could never give you. Whatever the action is, let it come from your truth. Not from obligation, not from pressure, but from a place of pure, evolved compassion. Because love that asks for nothing in return is the love that transforms everything. And here's the deepest part, Sagittarius. As you pour this healing light into your family field, you may notice something else begin to shift, your own relationship with yourself. The self-criticism quiets, the fear softens, the vision clears. Because when we stop carrying what was never ours, we make space for who we truly are. And who you are is a healer disguised as a fire sign, a sage wrapped in laughter, a revolutionary cloaked in kindness. You didn't come here to fix the past. You came here to free the future. And that begins now with you. Conclusion: you were chosen because you could carry the light. Sagittarius, you may have questioned why your path in the family felt so heavy. Why you were the one who had to break away, look deeper, or carry emotions no one else wanted to name. But today, I want you to hear this truth with every cell of your being. You were never a mistake. You were chosen. chosen because your spirit is brave enough to walk into darkness with a torch, and wise enough to know when to walk away without burning it all down. This week you've been asked to reflect, to feel, and to see your family, not through the lens of wounds but through the lens of wisdom. And in doing so, you've started something powerful. You've shifted the energy of your entire lineage. No, they may not say thank you. They may never understand what you've done. But the work has been done, Sagittarius, and your soul knows it. So take a deep breath. Not just for you, but for the grandmothers, the fathers, the siblings, and the unborn children who will walk more freely because you dared to tell the truth. And now I ask you gently, share your light. If this message stirred something in you, leave a comment. What part of your family's story are you choosing to transform? Your words may become the seed of healing for someone else on this journey. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom. This space exists for seekers like you, who want not just answers but deep soul alignment. Because healing isn't loud. It's quiet, subtle, sacred, and it begins right here with you.